What's up guys, and welcome to another YuGiOh Duel Links video. So currently the Duelist Kingdom is still ongoing, not to mention it'll end on the 24th of December, which is Christmas Eve. Henceforth, you better finish this event up because you do not want to miss on getting some of the extra event rewards, not to mention the free jewels and also free skill chips that are available for this event. So let's click into the event page and let me tell you the different other things you can obtain throughout this entire event. So first up, the event duel rewards such as Archery Staff is up for grabs, not to mention Sandbell the Summoner that allows you to special summon level 2 monsters onto the field, Blast Sphere, All Out Attacks, and Armed Samurai. Anyways, it's actually better if you actually obtain at least 3 copies of these event reward cards. Not to mention, and also the skill chips are there up for grabs along with all the different other jewels and gems that are currently in this entire event. So as I mentioned, you gain an attack bonus based on what deck you use and also the site that you actually select. Since for example I'm using my Senju, I will select the wind's attribute field, which is called Wasteland, which gives me a bonus of 600 points of attack. And do know that this entire page changes on a daily basis, so the attack points might increase or decrease based on the different other sites. Anyways, for the duel record, I've been actually doing quite well. I've had about 30 to 40 duels overall, not to mention that there are wins and there are losses, as well as the triple dots, which actually means connection error, which I do not actually like when it comes to this kind of problems. Anyways, I would like to also share with you the different other decks I've used throughout this entire event. So for example, since we're in the wind attribute field, I actually tried using this entire deck, which is called Senju. So I'm pretty sure that everyone is quite familiar with this entire archetype, knowing the staple cards such as my Senju Hitot, Daibak, Senju Karmas, and also Senju Training Grounds. So aside from the pendulum summoning, Senjus are actually known to bounce cards from the field back to hand, including themselves, which is why when they are normal summons such as the Senju main deck monsters, aside from the pendulums, they return to your hand at the end of the duel. Due to the fact of being normal summon, you actually gain more counters for your Senju Training Ground, henceforth adding more searcher cards to your hand. And also because they are added back to your hand, you do not have monsters on the field, which is why I use Counter Gate, because I would rather negate one attack and draw a card, that if that card is a monster, I'll normal summon it onto the field. So if you were to draw into your Senju R, it will go to defense position with 100 points of defense. And if you were to draw into your Senju Karma 1, well, you could essentially normal summon other Senju monsters onto the field, such as Senju Karma 2, Senju Karma 3, as well as Sujik, and finally Izna. There is also a card known as Senju Sword Sting, which actually bounces your opponent's cards onto the field back to their hands by revealing how many Senju cards there are in your hand currently. So if you were to actually have 2 to 3 copies, I recommend using this card instead of Counter Gate, because you rather bounce those monsters back to the extra deck or back to the opponent's hand instead. And aside from that, I'm using Wall Disruption, because there are certain times where you actually have enough pendulum scales and you pendulum summon all these other Senju monsters. But do keep in mind that if you were to pendulum summon these Senju monsters, they do not return to hand aside from the cards that are shown like Hitot, Daibak, and that's about it. For Senju R and also the other Senjus, when they are normal summon, they return to hand. However, if they were special summon, they do not return to hand instead. Well, except for your Senju R, because it stays on the field, but normally you would rather use that as a pendulum scale instead. And aside from this entire archetype, there was also the attributes where you actually gain the fire attribute bonus. So for this entire attribute bonus site, I actually use a Jarak deck, which is under Tyranno Hassleberry, and as you can see, as I'm about to show you, my Jarak deck is basically comprised of the main monster Jarak Meteor, which is basically acts like a Black Rose Dragon and nukes the entire field. Although the summoning condition requires 1 tuner and 2 or more non-tuner monsters, that is easily done if you actually have monsters such as Direct Velo or Direct Protops. And the reason I do have these monsters on the field is because of Wall of Disruption. So at least if you have monsters in the graveyard, you can use Fossil Excavation to actually send one card from your hand to the graveyard to actually bring out any of the direct monsters since they are all dinosaurs. But I would normally use that to bring out direct Spinos and also higher level direct monsters. So if you're gonna bring out direct Meteor, please keep in mind to not actually normal summon during that turn, because if you do normal summon that turn and use its effect to nuke the field, you only have direct Dino with only 1700 points of attack. But if you have the bonus, you'll have 2300 points of attack, which is actually quite good. But it is better if you actually have something that you have yet to normal summon, such as Direct Velo. That way you can go into Direct Giganoto, which gains an attack boost of 200 based on how many other direct monsters are in the graveyard. So that's one way to go for an OTK. Not to mention I'm playing Big Evolution Pill. If I have a handful of big monsters, high level monsters, I'll just use this effect to bring out Spinos or maybe Direct Titano because of 3000 points of attack. And that's about it. Not to mention I'm using the Dino DNA skill, which gives me 200 points of life points during the standby phase of every turn. That way I know my life points is secure, and I would not actually have to worry if I were to actually be on the brink of death. At least there's some extent of life points at the standby and at the ready. And finally, I will get into my water deck. For fun fact, I actually used 2 different other water decks for this entire Duel Links. First up, I used Thunder Reptiles. So Thunder Reptiles are basically using YuGiOh and Thunder Dragons. So as you can see, Thunder Dragon, I used a regular type for me to fuse into twin-headed Thunder Dragon. This way I have monsters of high attack points. Not to mention I actually got rid of these extra cards that are currently in my deck to go for a fusion summon. And basically the Reptiles YuGiOh and also Gogea YuGiOh are basically just monsters I can actually normal summon or bring onto the field with ease, since I'll be using Thunder Dragon Roar to discard and to bring back a Thunder Dragon from the graveyard to my hand to go into more fusion plays. Thunder Dragon Matrix is basically there as a defense wall, not to mention giving your Thunder Dragon monsters an attack boost of 500 points of attack, so you can OTK your opponent right on the get-go. But if your opponent were to have something like Drowning Mirror Force or something that actually nukes your field for that turn, you can have Thunder Dragon 100 Thunders to bring out the fusion materials or the Thunder Dragons that are currently in your graveyard onto the field to actually go for another all-out attack. This is a pretty fun combo I have actually thought of, and if you have Judgment of Thunder, you might as well just add that in, because if you were to summon a Thunder type monster, you can basically destroy a card your opponent controls, be it if it's in the back row or even something in the front row that is already accessible. And as usual, Wall Disruption, because sometimes your opponent does bring out something like Blue Eyes White Dragon, and with YuGiOh at 2350, with that is provided if you have the field bonus, is not enough to actually go over those kind of monsters. And aside from this Thunder Reptile deck, I've also played a pure YuGiOh deck, which I will be showing right now. It's nothing fancy or even like a very hyper meta kind of thing. It's basically just just a fun deck. You actually can just play YuGiOh. So Tristan has some voice lines with it, and not to mention Lion Alligator allows you to do piercing damage if you control another face-up reptile monster, which is why I play 3 copies of Ancient Rules and 1 copy of Unexpected Die. So since if you control no monsters on the field, you can use Unexpected Die to bring out a normal monster, aka YuGiOh, onto your field, then normal summon Lion Alligator to actually do piercing damage for that turn. And if you were to maintain Lion Alligator on the field and you have YuGiOh, and you have ancient rules along with any of these high level YuGiOh monsters in hand, you can basically go for an OTK for that turn. And if your opponent has set cards, use Night Beam to essentially destroy those set cards so they won't be able to activate for that turn. And also counter gates if your hand if you tend to break for those kind of moments, and also Wall of Disruption, as I mentioned for the previous time when you go against monsters with higher attack points. Anyways, that's about it for my entire Duelist Kingdom deck profile that I've used throughout this entire event. And I gotta say the duel record for this event is looking pretty decent if I say so myself. There are wins, there are losses, and also there are disconnected duels because of bad internet connection. This is what happens when you actually play on your phone most of the time, which is why I actually did not broadcast much thus far. So that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys also participate in this event to obtain the free gems, event rewards such as the cards, not to mention the duel against Pegasus to actually get that Duelist Kingdom anime feel. Oh, as I mentioned about Pegasus, you can actually duel against Pegasus once you accumulated enough star chips, then select the 3 difficulties that are present as shown on screen. The only difference for these 3 different other difficulty levels is that for Maximilian Pegasus at very hard, he summons more toon monsters, along with he has access to relinquish faster, which isn't actually that much difficult because we already have synchro monsters, we have Xyz, and also we have pendulums, so this duel is definitely in the bag for you, regardless if you actually play those kind of playstyles or not. And as I mentioned, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next video, most probably tomorrow or so, or on Christmas, where I post the duel video on how I actually use the different other decks throughout this entire event. And I'll see you next time, so stay safe and keep dueling. But most important of all, Merry Christmas to all of you who are celebrating, and those of you who are not celebrating, I hope you guys have a great holiday or vacation and rest up for the day. That's it from me. Stay safe, but most important of all, keep dueling. Goodbye.